Like, let's say you can go back and take the illegal defense out. You think Kobe goes from doing what he did, and you think that production goes up tremendously?
Yeah, I've always said, if you put,
did we get deprived of Kobe?
If you put Kobe in, the 2000s is the most disadvantageous era Kobe could have played, in my opinion. You put him in the 90s or the 80s where illegal defense existed, and that allowed more spacing because of the non-shooters being forced to space the floor. Or you put him in today's game where there's no technically illegal defense, but because basically everyone can shoot, you can't just clog the driving lanes like you could in the 2000s, because the spacing is technically what illegal defense was. It's just back then the people couldn't actually space, but you were forced to guard them. Now you're not forced to guard them, but because they can shoot, you still have to guard them. So it has the same principles as illegal defense. You put Kobe in the 90s or in the 2010s or 2020s, he looks much better than he did in the one era where defenses were allowed to key on him more, which is why I don't care about, Kobe was 45% from the field. Like, yeah, you're going to shoot a lower percentage when you're in the era with the least amount of spacing that's ever existed. You put Kobe in the 90s where it's more of a one-on-one game, where teams had to either send a hard double or they had to leave you one-on-one and they couldn't shade over to your side. Kobe shooting.
We're talking about a peak. We're talking about a peak, Bryant.
Yes, like 03 to like 08 Kobe, okay, 01 to like 08 Kobe.
Right. We're talking about a peak Bryant, right?
He's doing ridiculous in either of those scenarios. He's just in an era where the defense was different. And I'm not saying that means Kobe's higher all time, because like I said, I don't care about how your game looks in different eras. Right. I'm just saying, if you look at Kobe and can't see how his game would look so much better in every other era.
Yeah, if you love Devin Booker and Tatum and
like Kobe would look so much better in every other era other than his own.
If Devin Booker averaged 40 in the playoffs, Kobe is definitely averaging 40 or better.
Yeah, that's why Kobe wasn't done dirty by his era, because anyone who watches him understands. But the people who just watch basketball on a spreadsheet and compare his efficiency to guys like Mike or to guys of today's league like Devin Booker, like the fact that I've heard people say Kobe wouldn't be the best scorer in today's league, like, shut up. I'm gonna be honest, shut up. So like those people, they don't understand the context of how the basketball is played. But the people who do understand, I think they would probably all understand what I'm saying and where I'm coming from. And that doesn't mean Kobe's the best player ever, or it doesn't mean Kobe's better than MJ. I'm not saying any of those things, even though I think you can make the argument. But Kobe definitely would look different in every other era.
The reason why I said Mars the peak Bryant is because, I mean, he did
Young
play in
Kobe
the 90s.
Was in the 90s, yeah.
Right. He played in the 90s. So, and unfortunately for him, well, fortunately for him, he was on a vet team. But unfortunately, we didn't really get to see what he really could have been like at that young age. Because he was playing with Shaq. Yeah,
he was the youngest player in the league, too.
He wasn't 17 the whole time. He was 17 as a rookie in 1996.
You're right.
He played 4
seasons
in the 90s.
How young he was throughout that whole time.
But the point,
I think Kobe struggles without Shaq if he comes to the league by himself.
The point that I'm making is when he gets in the 2020s, right? And he gets in when he gets in the late 2010s and the 2020s, how wide open the game is, how the long ball has opened up the game, how the big man isn't in the paint like he used to be. And I don't mean the big man in the paint offensively. I mean the big man in the paint defensively. So the big man, so instead of dealing with Olajuwon in the paint, instead of dealing with David Robinson, he's dealing with Hassan Whiteside. These are the kind of dudes that he's dealing with getting to the rim. I think that his finishing would go through the roof. So add all of that up with him being a mid-range shooter, right? Add all of that up with him being money from the stripe. Add all of that up, his game would definitely be enhanced. I won't argue that.
Fouls chill in this era.
Yeah, there's no way I'll argue that.
Strike like 10 to 12 times a game.
Yeah, I won't argue that. If James Harden is going to the free throw line 11 times a game,
you know what I'm saying?
If James Harden is going to the free throw line 11 times a game, Bryant is going to the free throw line at minimum.
Manipulate 10. The system for sure.
Yeah, at minimum 10.
Like, how teams like the Celtics defended Kobe. If illegal defense existed, they could not defend him like that. They had Kendrick Perkins slid all the way on the other side of the lane, clogging up his driving lanes. Then you had a great point of attack defender on him. Then you had KG just hovering over on the other sides of the paint if Kobe somehow managed to break that. And then you got weaker shooters in the corners who they're not really worried about. It's like, that wouldn't work in the 90s. And I'm not saying that discredits them. I'm just saying it made it easier for them to play defense. It's the player choice way. Them boys don't get it started. The player choice way.
listen to the play and try and wait.